Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo and Kevin sitting here with
Kevin Horde.
Hello, sir. We are a little late with this one, but I was in the middle of a move, so...
That being said, I tweeted out last week, I think, that we're working on potentially something new with Star Wars Resistance, and that may be delaying our episodes a little bit. And truth be told, we are hoping to do videos along with the Star Wars Resistance stuff, so
yes.
Hopefully that'll be coming soon. Probably won't be next week, but definitely before the end of the season. Outside of the Clone Wars stuff, we might be able to give you our shining faces on occasion.
See how off you were in imagining our faces and versus what our cover art animation looks like, if that's your only basis for what we look like.
Well, if you do remember, listeners have seen us once before last year on Christmas. We put out the holiday special.
The holiday special. Life Day stuff, man.
Absolutely. Life Day's coming up, man. Not too long.
Coming up, yeah. Yep, just about a month. Just about a month away. So we'll have to figure out something for Life Day again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's always the Ewok movies, the Ewok Adventures. And
well, by that point, we'll be deep in Mandalorian stuff too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be a good Life Day for all of us with Mandalorian coming out. So
we got some fun things coming out Star Wars wise, and hopefully some fun things coming out Not the Nerd wise. But this week, we're talking about Star Wars Resistance, Season 2, Episode 2, A Quick Salvage Run.
Yes. So this was the air date of October 13th, 2019. Sorry. Again, we're running late. We're not running that late. This episode was directed by Bosco Ng and written by Brandon Auman. So should I go through the quick 5-minute summary? Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Let's do it.
All right. If you haven't seen this yet, spoilers for, again, Season 2, Episode 2 of Star Wars Resistance, A Quick Salvage Run. Spoilers starting now.
Spoiler alert.
So we basically start at the end of the previous episode with Tam listening in on Kaz's message from her comlink. Rockland walks in and catches her listening in. We cut on over to the Colossus. It is running out of supplies and fuel. Niku slips up and reveals to Sonara that Kaz has in fact contacted Tam. Kaz is then contacted by his father. His family did survive the attack on Hosnian Prime. They happened to be off-world at the time. We cut back over to the First Order. Rockland convinces Tam to turn in the comlink to Tierney and Pyre. They appreciate her assistance in that. We cut back to the Colossus. The Colossus arrives to Dakar. The Resistance base is wiped out. No sign of Poe, no sign of Leia there whatsoever. But they notice that there is a broken up piece of Star Destroyer, and Kaz suggests to send some pirates over for a salvage mission to get the coaxium. He convinces the pirates to get that, but they say that Doza and such will all owe them. We cut back over the First Order. They discovered the location of the Colossus, thanks to Tam. We cut back over to pirates and Kaz. They head on over to the Star Destroyer. They do find the coaxium. A lot of the other pirates are actually pillaging while that's happening. The coaxium is locked to the ship while they're trying to figure out how to get the coaxium out of the Star Destroyer. The First Order shows up, catches up to the Colossus, and sends in a TIE battalion. The Aces are dispatched to fight the TIE fighters. Let's see. So... Niku and them do get the coaxium off of the Colossus, off the Star Destroyer. They head on back to Kragan's ship, and they start heading out there. The galleon is struck from behind by some TIE fighters, but makes it to the Colossus. The Aces are still flying around, trying to battle with the TIE fighters. Niku must transfer the coaxium to the hyperdrive, which is a very dangerous process. Colossus, meanwhile, loses shields. Niku places the coaxium. The Aces return to the Colossus. Colossus makes the hyperspace jump. Tierney assures Tam of her commitment and thanks her for her commitment and what she did in order for them to find the Colossus. We cut back over to the Colossus one more time. Doza and Yeager are having a conversation, and they're speculating how the First Order found them. We cut over to Sonaro hanging out with Kaz and Niku. And Sonaro brings up that the First Order could have only found them based on the information that Kaz gave them. Kaz refuses, however, to believe that Tam actually gave them up. And from there, we cue loud music.
Cue loud music. The soft way that we're doing this season.
A very soft, mysterious, sullen version of it, for sure.
Yeah, this episode didn't quite have the somewhat dejected musical notes at the end and then like cue loud music, but there is definitely like a definitive like this episode is ending and then almost a brief pause and then pump into the cue loud music. It's not as immediate or a finality of sorts, I feel, as from last year. It feels like there's a little edit in there. Yeah. I don't know. You want me to get into questions on this one or?
Sure. Yeah. Go for it. What do you got for this one, man? When did Rockland? When did we last see Rockland? That was my first question too. How did Rockland get here? Was he there before Tam? I don't remember him walking off on the platform with Tam. It's a possibility.
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember when we last saw Rockland, and I'm wondering if he was taken prisoner or something, then was like, fuck this, I don't want to be a prisoner, like, can I just join you guys? I totally support you, like, let me be one of your dudes, like, I'm an awesome pilot, blah blah blah. So I'm thinking that's what happened, but
I'm looking it up. It looks like No Escape Part 1 was the last episode he actually appeared in.
Right, but I don't remember the circumstances.
Nah, yeah.
And I would totally go back and watch that. But it's not on Disney now. Once Disney Plus pops up here in a month, I'll give you guys an answer.
Yeah.
So that was my first question. Second question was, you said something about. You said Tam was listening to
Comlink?
Like we see the right. I don't think it's the same scene. I think she's going back and listening to this.
Well, she's going back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's definitely going back. But it seems like we're kind of starting. Maybe not if like at the same moment, say like Force Awakens leading into The Last Jedi.
Right.
But around the same time frame, it seems she's still holding onto this comlink, which she's not supposed to have. She covers it up when a couple other cadets walk out of wherever she's at. You know, it's hiding in her locker.
I don't even want to ask the question of where she hid this thing, but I will ask the question of how many times do you think she has revisited this message since the last episode? Because initially what happened in Into the Unknown, at the end, you know, this message is transferred. Tam does activate the comlink, listens basically to Kaz saying, hey, Tam, it's me, Kaz, yada, yada, and then shuts it off. Do you think that she has kind of gone back to this repeatedly, like listening to the full message?
No. Well, she's listened to the full message at least once, I'm assuming.
Okay.
But she can't have had held on to this too long, otherwise it gets more suspicious on why it took her so long to turn it in.
That's only if they know when it arrived. And
Rockland also notes that she's not supposed to have it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
She's not supposed to have that comlink. She's supposed to have turned in the comlink.
See, I missed that. I thought it was
the message itself.
The message itself, yes.
No, she's supposed to have turned in like everything else that would have connected her to her past life.
Okay. Now,
otherwise, it seems suspicious that she would hold on to it as if she's trying to contact them.
Very true. See, I just kind of took this as like new iPhone, but she's logged into like her old Apple ID, so she had access to like her voicemails and shit.
No.
Okay.
No.
This was her comlink from before.
Yeah.
Like she threw out the goggles, she threw out the brown vest, she threw out the blue gloves. She should have thrown out this as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So another question regarding this comm link then is that later down the line, there's some first order officer or something that says like, "Oh, we decoded the message." Should they have had to decode the thing? Like, couldn't she just be like, boop, boop, and like play the message?
They decoded it to figure out where it came from, not the message itself.
Fair enough.
Because then the officer says something like, "We discovered its origins."
Right. The Ilenium system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't an issue of trying to decode what was in the message. It was decoding the metadata of the message.
Okay.
Right.
How did you feel about Nico wanting to be a pirate?
That was fine.
Because I know that last season you definitely got fed up with Niku and his kind of shenanigans. I really like the Niku character.
Yeah.
I feel like he and I would be buddies.
I still don't. That said, he was at least a little less in the way this time. He had maybe one or two moments where he was fucking shit up, but in the end, like, he does have like the big heroic moment of installing the coaxium into the Colossus.
Yeah, it really is a case of without him, the knowledge of what needed to be done wouldn't be there. Like, he's the one that straight up says, Captain Dozer, we're not going anywhere. Like, we're out of coaxium, so this is it. Like, we used our coaxium to get here, and now if we have to leave, we need more coaxium. Kaz comes up with the plan of taking the pirates. I don't know if...
Going to the Star Destroyer,
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessary or not, because the pirates don't really do anything except for provide transportation.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was just going to be Kaz and Niku. I thought when he was like formulating a plan, it was like, how about Kaz or how about Niku and I go? That's all I thought it was going to be. I don't know why. I agree with you. I don't know why pirates are involved at all either.
I think the reason they're involved is to integrate the pirates and the inhabitants of the Colossus. Like, the pirates and Doza, like Kragan and Doza and Yeager, need to put their differences aside and merge together by the end of the season. Because it's going to take everybody to save the Colossus, and they're not going to be able to have that separation, be butting heads later. So I think it's okay to have them kind of erroneously in addition to this mission. Kaz does make a good point. Like, they're the best salvagers we got.
Right.
Or the best salvagers around, or whatever.
And the Colossus itself does need other supplies, So if the pirates are willing to part with some of whatever they get, then I agree with you. There could be some positives there.
I think it's very comical that the pirates, when they get to the ship, are literally in a situation where they're like, we loot things, we collect booty, and they're just taking stuff. They don't even know what it is. Could be empty fucking boxes.
Cases.
It's just their stuff, man. We're greedy. Let's take it. This is what we do.
Were there other pirates that we'd never been introduced to, especially like the wild-eyed one? Had we seen that pirate before?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Because I kind of did like seeing kind of more of the pirate characters in general.
Okay.
I don't think they had I agree with you that there's no bearing on this exact story here. Mm-hmm. But I at least appreciate the personality they infused into the episode.
Yeah.
Especially that one you were kind of mentioning where it's like, this is what we do. We plunder.
We're plundering. We take boxes.
Yeah.
It's like Beavis from space.
It's like, Beavis meets like Donnie from Wild Thornberries.
Yeah, meets, I don't even know.
Right. But
like Steve Buscemi's crazy eye character from
every Steve Buscemi movie ever.
Right, every Adam Sandler movie that Steve Buscemi's in.
Right.
It's him as like a leathery fish guy with no gills.
Right.
So, yeah.
How do you feel about Tam's kind of
betrayal?
Along? Kind of betrayal, but like, how do you feel? So going back to Rockland, how do you feel his part in this story is going to play out?
So Rockland is all in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Rockland is just a follower. You know, he was cool with being a racer because, you know, like that's what you do. But he was also cool with, you know, he's a cheater. Right. He tried to steal whatever the fuel was. I don't remember what it was called. And fuel for the fire, right?
Yeah.
Season 1, episode 3, I think. So I think he wants to just get by. And in the First Order, he knows he's got to play the game. Like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do the thing. Later, you can maybe form a couple alliances and, like, do things to benefit yourself. But honestly, it sounds like in the First Order, to benefit yourself, you do what they tell you to. Mm-hmm. And that's what's best for you.
Right.
It's a weird situation where doing what is best for somebody else is actually better for you than doing what you think is good for you. Mm-hmm. That's what fascism is, right? I mean,
right, basically.
So, yeah. But I think that, I think Rockland is just wholeheartedly in this thing. And since he knows Tam and they come from the same place and he sees Tam has this contraband, he's like, nope, this is what you got to do. We're going to Tierney. You're turning the shit in because this ain't coming back on me. You're not going to make me look bad. He just wants to be kind of incognito.
Right.
I don't know. It kind of goes back to the whole thing of how did he get to the First Order to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I am curious about what he's seeing is in it for him here. And I'm curious to
stability, success,
I guess. But I'm also curious to see with Rockland how he will continue to affect Tam. Do you think without Rockland, Tam would have turned in that comm?
No.
Yeah, I agree with you. So from that viewpoint, I do like Rockland's place in the story here.
Uh-huh.
But it is bothering me more that he's
like a moral directive that is not pointed true north. Mm-hmm. He's pointed true First Order, not true north.
Right. Like, I'm just with where Tam is at, though, still at this point in the story, I just am still bothered by Tam needing somebody like Rockland to do the thing she is there to do.
Yeah, well, you can tell that she's kind of surprised by the way that the First Order, I guess, structure is working. Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't know, it's almost because she gets pulled before, she gets pulled up to the bridge, right when the First Order shows up. And And Tierney is just going to fucking let her be there while her friends are defeated.
Right.
And they're not directly, like, breaking her the way that they would break a different individual.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's possible that Rockland has also been through more indoctrination, right?
Okay, good point. Yeah.
Because Pyre says something like she'll need to be, I don't remember the terminology he uses, reinformed or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, basically.
She needs to go through, like, re-education again or something like that.
Right. She needs to go through re-education.
Mm-hmm.
And Tierney says, no, we need her the way she is. So I think that Tierney... Here's a question for you. Is Tierney expecting her to kind of become a spy because of her feelings and personal connections?
I think Tierney is trying to play Tam for sure.
Because she's absolutely... She basically says, nope, we're going to leave her how she is. That way we can use her to our advantage. Because she is our most direct connection to the Colossus and to Kazuda. Because right now, Kazuda's like, you know, I guess, first order enemy number one as far as the Colossus goes, you know, as far as that group of people. Kaz has the biggest name for himself.
Yeah. And I think Tierney is probably hoping that Tam will have a change of heart and then try to contact Kaz, right? Which would then just lead the First Order straight to them.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's another something interesting that that I caught throughout this episode. There are a couple of, like, homages to stuff that happens in the past. We get, like, when the Star Destroyer comes out of hyperspace in the Alenium system, we get that, like, underneath the Star Destroyer panning across the screenshot, not full, like tip to tail that we get in A New Hope, but we get part of that, right?
Yeah.
And then when Kragan breaks the coaxium out, it goes flying over a ledge, and you just see it kind of tumble in slow motion, and Kaz, like, catches it, like Rose's sister does with the remote for the bomber in the Last Jedi. And then we have, like, literally the coaxium itself and, like, the color change that it goes through in its trip from the ship that it was on back to the Colossus and being inserted. And this is not dissimilar to what the journey that we see coaxium go on in Solo, the Star Wars story, right? So we have those, but then also there's like a little line that Pyre drops that I'm wondering if is connected to The Last Jedi as well, where at the end of the episode, when the Colossus takes off, like, this coaxium goes through its journey, and Nico goes through this physical and emotional struggle to fucking transfer this coaxium, right? Finally gets it in. They close the drawer. Boom, the Colossus shoots off into hyperspace. And somebody says something like, oh, they jumped to hyperspace, it's gone. And Pyre says, we've only lost them temporarily. So are they going to track them through hyperspace? Like, is this going to mirror what is going on in this time period during The Last Jedi?
I thought that too. I was, especially with Pyre and Tierney and the verbal smackdown they got in the previous episode from Phasma.
Right.
For him to not be concerned here, I thought something similar as well about the hyperspace tracking technology that we saw unveiled in Last Jedi.
Which
at least in chronological viewing order.
Right.
We're still before those events.
I think we're pretty much, like, coinciding with those events because it's been, like, so when the Resistance learns that they are able to be tracked through hyperspace is immediately is the, like, after the first battle in The Last Jedi, right? So we've seen the aftermath of that battle, at Dakar in this episode.
Yeah.
So that means that they've already made the hyperspace jump away. And
Right.
now the Colossus is at Dakar making a hyperspace jump away. And Pyre says, we've only lost them for now. So these things are happening. We are simultaneously
there.
with The Last Jedi. You know, we're about a week out from the end of last season, from No Escape Part 1, No Escape Part 2, into the Union. We're about a week out from that, which leads me to believe that kind of between, like, even though it's like immediately following The Last Jedi immediately follows The Force Awakens, there's still like a little bit of time gap there, you know, a couple days or so. So, but as for right now, we're simultaneous with the beginning of the events of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a stretch in there because it's one of those Empire Strikes Back things where, you know, like Luke was only on Dagobah for 3 days. Probably not, you know. Rey was only on Ahch-To for 3 days. Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to stretch out a little bit, but we are definitely concurrent with The Last Jedi, and the connection I made was the Resistance hyperspace jumps and is followed by the First Order. The Colossus hyperspace jumps maybe another direction and is followed by the First Order. Next question. Where is the Colossus headed? Where did they go?
I have no idea, honestly, because we get, what's that droid's name? Like D4 or something like that, right?
I think so.
And Doza or Yeager tells him to like put in some coordinates, and they trust him.
One, I think it's a her.
Her 4D.
4D. Yeah.
4D.
She.
Yeah. So she initiates the jump, and I don't know why we're letting her choose, but sure.
I don't think she's choosing. I think she had a predetermined location that they are sent to. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I don't think immediately. I don't think every episode's gonna be Colossus jumps, and then the next episode we find out that the First Order can track them. But I'm betting within 3 episodes, the First Order's up their butt again, and they don't know why.
That's interesting. I am curious how, with the events of Last Jedi and this show, how they will fill out 22 episodes. Like, at some point, they have to go beyond Last Jedi and maybe even Rise of Skywalker?
I think they will in the second half of the season. That's the thing. We talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, you know, as this comes out. The first half of this season is before the Rise of Skywalker. The second half of the season is not. And I'm pretty sure it's been said that the conclusion of this season leads directly into the Rise of Skywalker. And by the conclusion of this season/series, you will understand why it's a 2-season show.
Right. All right.
So, I mean, that makes me really hopeful. It makes me excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
Curiously enough, as far as like my one-word description of this episode, I feel like you last season. Like, I'm like, I don't even know.
Right.
There wasn't a lot that happened. There wasn't like a lot of building. I would say overall, like the first time I watched this episode, it was exciting. It was fun. We moved through things. Nico did his kind of goofy stuff. Kaz has like a direct plan. Like, he's almost the most focused out of anybody.
Yes, yeah. Which is a huge change up from last season for sure.
Yeah, which is surprising. I don't know. Can you boil this one down?
Not to one word, but I agree with you. I will say I do like this episode, but it does still feel like a weird, like, in-between mission. Like,
yeah, I guess I will call this one, like, building. Like, it's building towards something, but it's not there yet.
yeah, it's... Like, I don't feel like this is an unnecessary story. I just feel like there isn't oomph to it. There isn't substance there, which is weird. I know this, like, that's sort of a contradiction.
But if you called it, like, insubstantial, that would feel like a negative, but it's not.
Right. But it's not. Like, there is stuff here that I do find valuable.
For sure.
As the story's being told. And also, I can't tell where we're going yet. You know? Like, I can't see where it's being led, but I also didn't walk away going like, oh, that was... like a life-changing Star Wars episode.
Right, but it is, it's got enough there that you're like, all right, if I was binge watching this show, I would watch one more episode before I took a shower.
Yes, yeah. Like, it's entertaining. It's definitely like a entertaining episode. I was never bored. I liked all the pieces here.
Is it like is it drawing you in?
I don't know if it's drawing me in. Like, I wouldn't say it's, like, engaging me.
Right.
Right?
Because
like, that's the
words
thing.
like engaging are too strong. Magnetic is too strong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, I think last week we called this underwhelming and soft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely stronger than that.
It's slightly above that, but I wouldn't put it too farther above that, right?
Right.
But, like, neutral, like maybe just the word is neutral.
Sure.
Word of the day is neutral. But yeah, so like that's my overall feeling on this episode. So like I will give it a thumbs up.
Wow.
To me, it's a thumbs up.
To me, it is a thumbs up as well. And also, before you go any further, I want to give you some kudos for absolutely calling out the entire plot of this based on the episode title.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we're like, hey, what, a quick salvage run, what's that going to bring? And you were like, man, if this is a fucking episode where they're out of fucking fuel and they have to go and salvage some fucking fuel. And I will say, when you were describing it last week, you were talking about it as though you would not appreciate it at all.
Right.
So, also kudos to the staff that put this thing together, because I guess they didn't surprise you by what was going to happen, but they did surprise you by the execution.
Yeah, look, like, I am so over coaxium collecting missions, all right? Between Solo and Smuggler's Run, we must never do this again in Star Wars, ever.
Well, we did it this week.
Ever. So,
and guaranteed it's going to fucking happen again.
Yes. But all the same, like, this episode's definitely entertaining enough. And it highlighted a lot of the best parts of these characters, Niku included. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Kaz definitely feels the most focused, which after last season of Kaz annoying the shit out of me so many times, he really is coming to his own in terms of being a leader or knowing what needs to be done at least, and taking direction from others in order to help the Colossus as a whole.
Right.
I appreciate all of that. But again, it's a necessary step. It would only make sense at this point that the Colossus is out of supplies and fuel, and Niku even mentions the delicious the Gorgs are running low.
Yeah. That's totally Niku right there.
Right. So it's an episode that makes sense in where we're at in the story-wise, but I also don't feel like it's something I needed to see.
It's like a solid chapter 2, which is exactly what it is. Right. Chapter 1, we kind of had like a reintroduction. We're in the second book of a series, and chapter 1 let everybody know kind of what happened and what and where we're at. And chapter 2 starts pushing forward. Yeah. Chapter 3, I'm guessing, should continue that acceleration.
Keep the ball rolling.
And
the ball is slowly turning here.
It's moving.
It's moving. It's not like at a nice full roll yet, So I'm curious about this choice in a 2-season series to not just have that ball shot out of a cannon immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's more of a personal expectation rather than being fairly judging what is being delivered.
I don't know if your personal expectation there is wrong, because after Into the Unknown, I kind of frequent some movie news websites and whatnot, and the reviews that came out about the season premiere were soft and underwhelming.
Right. So it wasn't just
It was not just us.
Yeah. Because I like, especially when you had so much momentum coming from the end of season 1, all they had to do was keep that rolling. And then we get this weird start of a season where it's like, ooh, gravity's off. Let's fix the gravity. And you like cut to Aunt Z's bar, and it's like this happy-go-lucky group, but like there's a very serious problem here.
Yeah. Our comments were pretty on par with the opinion across the board.
Okay. Because I really thought it was just me being maybe way too negative. Because I think in the last episode for Resistance, I told you I would have given it a thumbs up if you had asked me in April.
Yep.
But now that I know that this is it.
Yep.
Like all of how I view this
is different.
Definitely ratcheted up, right?
Yeah.
So I think the major positive I got out of this is we finally get introduced to Kaz's father.
Well, we get to see him. We did hear him.
Yeah.
He did talk to Kaz.
We never saw the face
in the first episode.
But we never saw a face. Do you think he will become a bigger character as this series
maybe
goes on? Yeah. It's that's the little part. It's like it's building something, but we can't tell what. I don't know how these pieces are going to fall out. But all the same, this was a fun enough episode. It moves along. The back and forth, like the terminology we use for the Clone Wars, where it's like A plot, B plot, with A plot being Colossus, B plot being First Order. I think that was balanced really well. I think the level of humor balanced with the more action sequences, right, is balanced much better in this episode than it was in the last episode. The last episode went way too high with the comedy when there was like a very serious threat underneath. Here, at least, there seems it's enough. I think it's a good balance here.
I think basically our A plot, B plot for the rest of this series is going to be Kaz and Tam. Like we're bouncing back and forth.
Completely.
So we definitely have the Resistance / First Order viewpoint of things. Tam, I don't know if you could say she looks regretful or concerned, or she definitely has kind of an air about her that, I think she wants to do her thing for the First Order, but I don't think she wants the thing that she is doing to affect her old friends. I think she would rather them just disappear and that's it.
Nope. That's just silly. Like, I honestly have no strong feelings on Tam right now. I think at the end of season 1, I was making a lot of comments that she was really bothering me based on just how ill-advised or ignorant her decisions seem to be. And I'm still feeling a lot of that. So I'm just kind of indifferent towards Tam right now. She does have like a look of mild conflict.
I was going to say her confliction is not has not borne fruit yet.
Right. So, yeah. So, we'll see. My last question: do you think we'll ever see Pyre's face?
Oh man. Maybe if he dies in some weird hand-to-hand combat situation.
Okay. I'm really curious because we haven't seen Phasma's face. We saw an eye.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm curious if we're just going hardcore in the never unmasking these folks. So.
I mean, I think I think this is the medium to do it.
Mm-hmm.
In a live action setting, the criticism of superhero or other always removing their mask because part of what you're paying for is the actor, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that in an animated show because the actors are getting paid for their voice talent,
exactly,
not for what they look like. So it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see Pyre's face.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be okay with it either way.
Yeah. Just curious. Just very curious. So
I've got two other questions.
Do it. Go for it.
One is regarding Kazuda's father. Because at the end of the transmission it's cut off by static, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. The call fails. Skype cut out. Whatever.
Invasion.
Yeah, I guess it's weird because it's a recording that was sent, so you would think if part of the recording got through, yeah, isn't it?
No, Kaz was talking to him.
Oh, okay. Well,
remember, Kaz was like, "Oh, you made it? Yeah, we were off planet."
Okay, well, never mind about that. My last comment then, but still on the same right, his dad's kind of a douche.
Right.
He's like, no, Kaz, run away as far away from Dakar as you can. And by the way, the First Order knows it was you, and now they're after our family, and you have failed us, and you're going to cause the demise of like our entire family. And there's probably bounty hunters after, and then it cuts out. How do you feel about that? I know that his dad wasn't supportive of him to begin with because Hamato is, he's a member of the Senate, and he is one of the Senate members that thinks that the Resistance is like a guerrilla militia, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And totally not supportive of the Resistance.
That's why I hope we do get more with Hamato here, like, just to flesh this out a bit more. Not that I need, like, a character with daddy issues again. Like, that is so done between, like, Iron Man and...
Well, I think that Kaz has... I think he's grown beyond, like, his daddy issues. I think that, he doesn't have a supportive father, but he still cares for his family, right? And
right.
Kaz knows that he is doing what is right.
Yeah.
And I think if his father does come back, he's going to be like, fuck you, Dad. Like,
I hope that's what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, I'm doing what's right, not just for me, but for my family and the galaxy. Like, you're the one that's not doing what's right because you are in a position of power as far as being in the Senate, and you're turning a blind eye because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the son, like, teaches the father what is right,
Yeah. I hope we go that way, but if we get, like, a full arc of father-son conflict, like, again, with my expectations on this being a 2-season series only.
Yeah, I guess that is a lot to happen pretty quick.
Like, that's not something I need to see played out. I should mention, by the way, Hamato is voiced by Zima.
Mm-hmm.
He is the actor from Rush Hour, and he's going to be Mulan's father in the upcoming live-action Disney remake.
All right. I saw he had a Star Trek credit as well. I didn't look into that one.
He's all over the place. So, and he also played the father in The Farewell, which just came out earlier this year, too. So if you've seen that.
Cool.
He's all over the place. He's pretty awesome. I just am a fan of his from Rush Hour.
Awesome.
Huge fan of Rush Hour. So figure we should mention that as well. But yeah, I don't know about Hamato. Like, I don't know what his role is gonna be.
I don't know.
If Hamato shows up, it's hopefully to kind of get a status update of the current Senate and who survived, right? The survivors of the Senate.
Yeah, I was under the impression that the Senate was on Hosnian Prime, so essentially the Senate is gone and the government has been destroyed because anybody that was in session, it would be like if all of Washington D.C. was blown up.
Right. Yeah.
Like you lost everybody.
Right. But so that's what I'm trying to that's what I would like explored in a show like this, right? So we have this, I get that's called resistance, but I would like an aspect of like what we don't get that in the movies, like what does happen to the government, right? Like is the Constitution still active? Like, do they just do re-elections? You know, like what?
I think that we're gonna get that in the opening crawl of The Rise of Skywalker.
You think so?
I think so. It's going to say something like, with the Senate destroyed, there's disorder everywhere. The First Order has moved into a hole in structure and politics and blah, 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 and been able to take foothold and yada, yada, yada.
Like it's taking over like the outer laying systems and just...
No, I think that like the fucking government's been blown up, and the First Order steps in and says, "Hey, your government was fucking blown up. Like, we have the structure. This is the way things are going to be, and there's going to be nobody to fucking resist against them."
You don't think we're going to start with another like one word exclamation point?
Yeah, it's going to say shit.
Yeah. But yeah. Did you have another question too, or?
Yeah, the other question is semi father related, right? We have Doza, who is a literal father in the show, and we have Yeager, who is a semi father figure to Kaz. Kind of the way this episode ends is them discussing like how did the First Order figure out that we were there? Like if there already was a battle and the First Order was gone, then we arrived. Why did they come back?
Yeah. And
Yeager is the one that brings it up. Doza says, "Oh, we must have triggered something. Like, I am ignorant to processes at this point." And Yeager's like, "I'm not so sure." How do you think they're going to react when they find out that Kaz called Tam, turned over that communication, and it's because of Kaz that the First Order came back?
I think they'll scold him, but I think they'll also take the confirmation that Tam turned them in. Does that make sense? Like, they'll be upset with Kaz, but they'll also it'll be replaced immediately with sadness that Tam is, in fact, playing for the First Order completely.
See, I'm thinking that I think you're right there. I think there may be some cold shoulder and silence for a while. Right. I don't think it's going to hit Doza as hard. Like, he might be pissed, but he doesn't have as personal of a connection with Kaz, right? Right. I think that Yeager is going to take it harder, but I also think that Yeager is going to be the one to convince Kazuda that Tam is not his friend anymore. Like, she is the reason. Like, yeah, Kaz is the reason because Kaz reached out to Tam, but Tam is the reason that the First Order is up their butt.
Right. I think it'll hit both not Tam. It'll hit both Kaz and Yeager equally in the realization that Tam turned them in.
Yeah.
Okay. And everybody, like even Tora, Niku, I think they will. They'll be upset with Kaz, but I think they need that confirmation. That Tam has turned on them.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So next week we have an episode called Live Fire.
Yes.
You nailed last week what this episode was going to be about. Based on this title, Live Fire, what do you got? Anything?
It's going to be some sort of shooting range issue.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing it applies to. So you don't talk about live fire in terms of like forest fires.
Okay.
You know, we're gonna get a Clone Wars style training episode.
Okay.
Right.
And it'll be live fire, so Kaz is
somebody will get live fire. Yeah.
Kaz is gonna take out Bo Keevil or something, and Dave Filoni's gonna be out of a job.
I really hope somebody dies next week based on live fire.
You would think so.
I would really hope somebody dies because that's what the show needs. Actually, a little bit more danger, a little bit more death.
The only
much higher stakes.
The only death we've seen is Captain Red Guy, right?
Right, Von Reg.
Yeah, Major Von Reg.
Now that you put it that way, this is an oddly low stakes show. But that's what I mean about. Okay, back to our criticism. One real quick. That's what I mean though. Like, this is an entertaining show, but the stakes don't feel high enough for me to be fully invested in this show.
Right. We haven't even hit the foothills of this fucking mountain yet.
Right. So that's kind of what is getting me here. Where at least even with Clone Wars was kind of flipped, where the first couple of seasons I did not enjoy, but I will at least agree that they threw some stakes in there. Like, there were a lot of clones and there were a lot of droids dying on both sides, right?
Yes, there were.
So this show is interestingly flipped the opposite way. So I'll be curious to see how other shows moving forward kind of handle that, you know. Like, Mandalorian seems like we should get some decent deaths. You know, I don't think he'll be holding back, and since Clone Wars is a continuation, hopefully I'm curious about how the momentum there will carry forward.
Yeah.
After such a gap. But yeah, it's for all the danger that all these characters keep coming into, the fact that we had TIE fighters chasing after the aces and some of them got hit, but no one got...
Yeah, the pirate ship with everyone aboard got hit, and it was able to...
did.
Like, everybody just crash landed into the Colossus.
Yeah.
And I didn't even bring up, like, the whole shield thing where the fucking door was open when everybody got out of their ships.
Oh, right.
But I'll just chalk that up to atmospheric shield. We'll move on.
Yep.
That's a Clone Wars thing for me to bitch at. Not a Resistance thing. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how next week is going.
Alrighty.
Hopefully the stakes get pulled up a lot more.
Well, in that case, if you think Lorenzo is completely incorrect in his assessment of what live fire may be, reach out to us and let us know. And the easiest way for you to do that is just head on over to notthenerds.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. You get all our social media links. We got links to YouTube also, not necessarily a social media, but another launch platform. Head on over there. You can leave comments, subscribe, thumbs up, all that jazz over there as well. Do us a favor and tell a friend. You know, if you like listening to us, or if you don't and you hate your friend, recommend us anyway. So that's about all I've got for this week. Shouts out.
Always, shout out.
I was gonna say shouts out to Kevin at They Call Me K-Dub, Lindsay at Strange Fantasy Music, and at Blue the Beard on Twitter for helping us out, putting all this production in order and whatnot. So,
for sure.
I guess until then, I've been Kevin.
Lorenzo Fon over here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.